Okay, I want you to just close your eyes for a second.
Yeah.
Imagine the absolute total silence of dawn.
Mm.
And I don't mean like library quiet or that hum you get in a house at 3 in the morning. I'm talking about a silence so profound, it feels like the whole universe is just holding its breath.
Right. There's nothing to echo off of.
Nothing. You are in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The water is like a sheet of polished black oil, and it just stretches out to infinity in every single direction. Beneath you, what, 3 miles of just crushing dark depth?
Yeah.
And you are floating on a little yellow rubber donut. You are completely, utterly alone.
That is, I mean, that's a terrifying image to start with. It hits something really primal in the brain, doesn't it?
It does.
It's that combination of thalassophobia, the fear of deep water, and agoraphobia, which is the fear of these vast open spaces you can't escape. You are just a microscopic speck on the face of the planet.
And that is exactly precisely where we find our protagonist, Harry Goddard. The sun is just starting to come up. It's turning the water that sort of bloody orange color. He's sunburned. His skin is covered in salt sores that just sting every time he moves. His lips are cracked.
He's dehydrated.
Totally. And just to add a little bit of spice to the nightmare, he's watching the dorsal fin of a shark slicing through the water maybe 10 yards away. And do you know what his reaction is?
I can't imagine.
He doesn't scream. He doesn't pray. He looks at the shark, he looks at his situation, and he calls it a low-budget routine.
Wow. Okay, that tells us everything we need to know about Harry Goddard right from the jump, doesn't it?
Everything.
This is a man who deals in manufactured realities.
Right.
He's a Hollywood producer, a writer, someone who understands scripts and staging and artifice. By calling his own near-death experience a low-budget routine, he's distancing himself from it.
He's critiquing the scene.
He's critiquing the scene rather than participating in it. It's an incredible defense mechanism.
Exactly. And today, we are going to unpack what happens when a man who builds illusions for a living gets trapped in a real-life thriller where the script is being written in blood and the director, well, the director might actually be a sociopath. We are doing a forensic deep dive into Charles Williams' gripping novel, And the Deep Blue Sea.
And this is such a rich text to analyze because it defies genre. It starts as one thing, a pure survival procedural, man versus nature.
Classic.
And then it just violently shifts gears into a locked room mystery, except the room isn't some dusty library in an English manor.
No.
It's a rusting freighter floating on a burning ocean.
And the stakes. I mean, they just escalate from, can I survive the sun and the sharks, to, can I survive the people who just rescued me?
Yeah.
So the mission for this deep dive is to look at that friction between fiction and reality. We're going to look at the physics of shipwrecks, the psychology of isolation, and specifically how a knowledge of movie magic can actually help solve a murder.
It's going to be a fascinating dissection. We have so much ground to cover. From, the hydrodynamics of a sinking yacht all the way to the pharmacology of faked heart attacks.
So let's rewind. Before Harry Goddard is floating on that rubber donut, he's the skipper of a sloop called the Shoshone. He's not some amateur, right? He's a competent sailor.
Oh, very.
So the first question is, how does a guy who knows what he's doing end up in this mess?
And that's the thing. It's the sailor's ultimate nightmare because it has absolutely nothing to do with skill. It wasn't a storm. It wasn't a navigation error.
It was just bad luck.
The worst kind of luck. It was a submerged object. In the maritime world, they sometimes call them deadheads.
Deadheads.
Yeah. It's likely a massive log, maybe a whole tree trunk that washed out of a river somewhere in the tropics during a storm. It gets waterlogged, so it floats just barely below the surface. You can't see it on radar. You can't see it with your eyes at night. It's an invisible wall in the middle of the ocean.
And Goddard is moving pretty fast, isn't he?
He's doing 7 knots. Now, to a listener, driving a car 7 miles an hour sounds like nothing. You bump a curb at 7 miles an hour, you spill your coffee, big deal.
Right.
But in a boat, it's a completely different world of physics. Water is incompressible. So when the hull of the Shoshone hits this massive, immovable log, all that kinetic energy has nowhere to go. It's like driving a car into a concrete wall, except the wall instantly surrounds you and tries to drown you.
The description of the crash in the source material it's haunting because of how sudden it is. 1 minute, he's just listening to the wind in the rigging. Everything is peaceful, calm. The next minute, bang. The violence is just so jarring.
And notice his reaction. This is where we see that competent man archetype in action. He doesn't panic immediately. His training kicks in. He dives into the cabin. Water is already pouring in over the floorboards.
He tries to fix it.
He tries to fix it. He's hacking at the lockers with a hand axe, trying to get to the hull to stuff a mattress into the hole. He's trying to solve the problem with engineering and brute force.
But you can't fight the ocean.
You just can't. The flow rate of water through a breach that size with the pressure of the ocean pushing in, it's immense. He realizes, almost clinically, almost with that same detachment, that the boat is dead. The Shoshone is gone. He has to step off.
And that leads to the raft. And this is where the book gets really psychological. He talks about the black animal. I found this metaphor just so potent. He talks about having to subdue the black animal of panic.
It's a brilliant visualization of a trauma response. In survival psychology, we know that panic is often more deadly than the elements themselves.
How so?
Well, panic burns oxygen. Panic clouds your judgment. Panic makes you do stupid things, like drink seawater because you're thirsty, even though your rational brain knows it will kill you faster.
So what does he do?
Goddard objectifies his panic. He turns it into an external animal so he can fight it. He separates his rational mind, the producer, from his reptilian brain, the screaming animal. It's a mental trick.
And he even gets philosophical about it. He's sitting there literally roasting in the sun, and he starts wondering, almost academically, how will I die? Will I go mad first? Will I start hallucinating? He's observing his own deterioration like he's watching dailies from a film shoot.
It's classic dissociation, a coping mechanism. But it works, it keeps him alive, until the night he sees the ship, the Leander.
This scene, oh man, this scene is excruciating to read. It's the middle of the night. He wakes up shivering, and there it is, a freighter.
Yeah.
And it's dead in the water. No engines running. It's less than a mile away.
And this creates a terrible, terrible dilemma. The ship is stopped, which is great, but he is drifting past it on the current.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So if he stays on the raft, he's relatively safe from the sharks, but he'll just drift away into oblivion. If he wants to be safe, he has to leave the raft. He has to get in the water and swim. In the dark. In water where he knows for a fact sharks are present.
And he has no idea how long the ship will stay there. It could start its engines in 5 seconds or 5 hours.
Exactly. It's a calculated risk, but the stakes are infinite. He slides into the water. And the sensory details here are just crucial. He loses his reference points in the swell of the waves. He can't even see the ship half the time. He's just swimming blind, completely fueled by pure adrenaline.
And then, the absolute horror. He gets close. He can see the rust on the hull. He's screaming at them. His lungs are on fire. And suddenly, he hears the jingle.
The engine room telegraph. For anyone who doesn't know, on these older ships, the bridge communicates with the engine room using this bell system. When the captain moves the lever to head slow, a bell jingles down below.
A death knell.
For him, yes. When you hear that jingle, it means the propeller shaft is about to start turning.
He is literally yards away from salvation, and the ship starts to move. He's screaming, "Don't leave me, I'm here!" But the water starts to boil under the stern. The prop wash is pushing him back. He is screaming into the void while civilization just sails away from him.
It's a moment of just absolute existential dread. It underscores how invisible he is. To that massive steel beast of a ship, he's just a patch of shadow in the water, a piece of driftwood.
But then, the twist. A miracle. Someone saw him.
Karen Brooke, a passenger on board. She couldn't sleep because of the oppressive heat, so she was up on deck just looking at the stars. And she sees a man's arms waving in the phosphorescence of the wake.
And nobody believes her.
Of course not. This is what sets up the entire social dynamic of the Leander. She runs to the bridge, but the Captain Steen, who the crew derisively calls Holy Joe, is completely dismissive. He thinks it's a seal or a log
or just a hysterical woman imagining things.
Precisely.
Well, why is he so reluctant to even check? Why not just stop?
It all comes down to economics and bureaucracy. Stopping a freighter at sea isn't like hitting the brakes on a car. It burns an enormous amount of fuel to stop and then get back up to speed. It kills their momentum. It completely messes up their schedule.
And there would be paperwork.
So much paperwork. Steen is a company man. He's terrified of having to file a report explaining why he lost 4 hours and thousands of dollars in fuel chasing a passenger's hallucination.
It takes the chief mate, Eric Lind, to actually save him.
Lind is the complete counterweight to the captain. He's decisive. He doesn't ask for permission. He just acts. He grabs a life ring and a flare and just hurls them overboard into the dark.
That flare changes everything.
That magnesium flare is the only reason Goddard survives. It illuminates the water. It proves he's really there. It forces their hand.
So Goddard swims to the light. He climbs the pilot ladder, which, by the way, climbing a rope ladder up the side of a rolling ship after days on a raft must be a feat of strength in itself.
Oh, absolutely.
He collapses on the deck. He's safe.
Or so he thinks.
Right. And the transition here is fascinating. He goes from that primitive, raw survival mode on the raft directly into the petty, civilized bureaucracy of the ship. The very first thing Captain Steen asks isn't, "Are you hurt?" or "Do you need water?" It's, "Who is going to pay for this?"
It's grotesque, but it's also probably quite realistic. Skeen is terrified of the bond. If you bring a stateless person, a castaway with no passport, no papers, into a foreign port, the shipping line has to put up a massive cash bond to guarantee they won't, become a public charge.
So he doesn't see a human being.
He sees a financial liability, a problem.
And this is where Goddard drops the helpless castaway act and becomes the Hollywood producer again. He handles it with such perfect disdain. He just takes off his watch, a gold Rolex chronometer, and tosses it on the table.
A huge power move.
And then he says, "I'll wire $2,000 to your shipping line as soon as we hit port." He basically just buys his ticket. He shuts them all up with money.
It's a brilliant move. He's establishing dominance right away. He's signaling to everyone on that bridge, I am not a refugee. I am a man of resources. I am a player in this game. And that is crucial because it puts him on the radar of the other people on the ship, particularly Eric Lind.
So let's talk about this ship, the SS Leander, because the setting itself is a major character in this story. This isn't some luxury cruise liner.
Oh, God, no. Far from it. It's a rust bucket, a Panamanian-flagged freighter, which basically means it's registered there to avoid taxes and regulations. It's likely an old Liberty ship or a similar vintage from the mid-40s.
Slow.
It does 13 knots on a good day with a tailwind. It smells of diesel and rust and copra from the cargo hold. And crucially, there is absolutely no air conditioning.
That heat just seems so oppressive in the story. It's relentless.
It's a pressure cooker, physically and metaphorically. The steel deck plates get so hot during the day you can't walk on them in bare feet. The cabins are stifling. Everyone is sweating constantly. Tempers are short. It creates this atmosphere of irritability and tension where violence feels, I don't know, it feels closer to the surface.
And the cast of characters trapped in this floating pressure cooker.
Yeah.
It's like an Agatha Christie novel on acid.
That's a great way to put it.
So let's break him down.
Uh-huh.
We've already met Eric Lind, the chief mate. He's a fascinating contradiction.
He really is. He's a giant of a man, physically imposing, charismatic. But his cabin? It's a library. He has medical textbooks. He's got philosophy, Nietzsche, Sartre, Schopenhauer.
So he's well-read.
And he acts as the ship's doctor because freighters of this size don't carry real doctors. He's competent, he's cynical, and you get the immediate sense that he's the one actually running the ship while the captain just frets about morals and regulations.
The Renaissance man in a dirty shirt. That's how Goddard describes him.
A perfect description.
Then we have the passengers, Karen Brooke, the young widow who spotted Goddard. What's her deal?
She's the cool, composed one, the rational center. She actually works in the shipping industry, so she understands this world. She's a potential ally for Goddard, which is a stark contrast to the other woman, Madeline Lennox.
Oh, Madeline.
Madeline is a tragic figure, really. She's an older widow, and she is desperate to cling to her youth and her sexuality. She's terrified of being alone, terrified of aging. She's overtly sexual, very aggressive in her pursuit of men.
And she latches onto Goddard pretty much immediately.
Almost from the moment he's cleaned up. It's not about romance for her. It's about validation. She needs to feel desired to feel alive.
And then the men. We have Walter Egerton, the English colonel. He's got the whole look down, right? The eye patch, the mustache, the stiff upper lip.
The whole package. He claims to be retired in Argentina. He's very patrician, very aloof.
And finally, the mystery man, Krasicki.
Krasicki is the wild card. He's a Polish-Brazilian botanist, but he looks like a walking corpse. He's a heliophobe. He's terrified of light. He stays in his darkened cabin all day. The crew just thinks he's crazy. He's the ghost in the machine.
So Goddard is settling in. He's drinking martinis, wearing clothes Lind lent him, trying to recover from his ordeal. But the atmosphere on the ship is just, it's heavy. And then comes dinner. This is the incident that just flips the genre of the story on its head.
The setting here is so key. The dining saloon. The fans are just whirring, pushing the hot, humid air around. Condensation is dripping off the water pitchers. It's sweltering. And suddenly, Krasicki, who never eats with the others, appears in the doorway. He looks feverish. And he locks eyes with the English colonel, Egerton.
It's instant recognition. It's obsessive. Krasicki starts asking him all these questions. You live in Argentina. Where exactly in Argentina? It's incredibly awkward. Everyone is just deeply uncomfortable.
And here's where the trap snaps shut. And it's a linguistic trap. It's so clever. Krasicki suddenly switches languages. He speaks to Egerton in German.
Now, Egerton is supposed to be a British officer.
Right. I mean, sure, he might know some German, but he wouldn't react in it involuntarily. It wouldn't be his default. But when Krasicki speaks, Egerton replies in fluent, colloquial German without even thinking.
It's muscle memory.
Exactly. It completely contradicts his entire persona. The mask just slips for 1 single second.
And that's all Krasicki needs. He just snaps. He screams, Meyer. Hugo Meyer, which we later learn is actually the name Mayer. And then he pulls a gun. This frail, sick, supposed mental patient pulls an automatic weapon at the dinner table.
The violence is just so shocking because it erupts in this mundane, almost boring setting. He shoots Egerton 4 times, and Goddard, because he's a filmmaker, his brain is processing the details. He sees the mirror behind the bar shatter. He sees the light fixture explode. He sees Egerton clutching the tablecloth as he falls, pulling all the dishes and glasses down with him. It's just absolute chaos.
Lynn tackles Krasicki. The crew ties him up. They rush Egerton to his cabin, but it's too late. The English colonel dies.
And this is where the mystery truly begins. Because when they are tending to the body, trying to stop the bleeding, the eye patch comes off.
And underneath it.
A perfectly healthy, functioning eye.
Which can only mean one thing. The eye patch was a disguise.
Precisely. Why would a man wear a fake eye patch? To change his appearance. And suddenly, the radio operator, Sparks, is getting urgent telegrams from Buenos Aires. The police there have finally identified Walter Egerton as one Hugo Mayer.
Hugo Mayer, a notorious Nazi war criminal, the butcher of Poland.
And Krasicki's identity is revealed at the same time. He's a concentration camp survivor, a man who was castrated and tortured personally by Mayer 20 years ago.
So on the surface, it looks like this incredible, tragic, poetic justice, right? It's a perfect story. A victim recognizes his tormentor after 2 decades on a lonely ship in the middle of the Pacific and exacts his revenge.
It's too perfect. It has a narrative symmetry that feels, well, it feels written, and that is what starts to gnaw at Harry Goddard.
And this brings us to the core concept of this whole deep dive, the director's eye. Because Goddard, the Hollywood producer, isn't buying it. His bullshit detector, which has been honed by years of reading bad scripts and managing production logistics, is going off.
It's the timing that gets him first. You have to think about the insane coincidences required for this to be true. Hugo Mayer is identified by police in Buenos Aires at the exact same moment he is recognized and killed on a ship thousands of miles away in the Pacific.
The odds are astronomical.
It's statistically so incredibly unlikely, it's just too neat. It wraps everything up in a perfect little bow.
And then he starts thinking about the mechanics of the shooting itself. He sits down with Madeline and Lynn later, and he starts analyzing the murder as if it were a movie scene. This part is brilliant. He introduces the concept of squibs.
Right. For you listening, a squib in filmmaking is a small explosive charge that's filled with fake blood. You tape it under the actor's shirt.
Right.
When the gun is fired, and it's firing a blank, not a real bullet, a wire is triggered, the squib detonates, and it rips the fabric and sprays the blood.
Looks terrifyingly real if you do it right. So Goddard lays out this hypothesis. What if a director was staging this whole thing? You use blanks for the first few shots that are aimed at the victim. You use a squib for the blood effect. And you only use the live rounds for the background effects, shooting the mirror and the light, to sell the danger to the audience.
He's describing a magic trick. It's all about misdirection. The loud noises, the shattering glass, the chaos. It makes all the witnesses duck and cover. Nobody is actually watching the bullets hit the body. They're reacting to the effects.
And you have to watch Lynn's reaction to this theory. If he were innocent, if this were all new to him, he'd say, "That's ridiculous. I saw the bullet holes myself." But he doesn't do that. He just smiles.
That sardonic, knowing smile. And he says, nature holding a mirror up to art. That is such a chilling moment. It's an intellectual acknowledgement. Lynn realizes he is dealing with an equal intellect. He's basically saying, you got me, touche.
Goddard also has these nagging forensic doubts. He remembers being there trying to give first aid, and he told Lynn the blood looked dark. Venous blood.
Right. A quick biology refresher here. Arterial blood is bright red. It's oxygenated, and because it's under pressure from the heart, it pumps or even sprays. Venous blood is a much darker crimson, and it flows more steadily.
Lynn claimed the bullet hit the pulmonary artery, and he was smart about that.
He is very smart, because the pulmonary artery is the one artery in the body that carries deoxygenated venous-looking blood, so his explanation holds up medically. It's a perfect cover.
But then Goddard realizes something else. something crucial. He never actually saw the entrance wounds
No.
because Lind sent him away. Goddard, go get the first aid kit. That gave Lind about 90 seconds alone with the body.
And 90 seconds in the movies or in a con like this is an eternity.
It's plenty of time.
Plenty of time to apply the fake blood from the squib, to arrange the clothes over the device, to coach the victim to play dead until everyone is gone. Goddard realizes Egerton, or rather, Mayer, wasn't killed. The whole thing was faked.
But why? I mean, why go to all this trouble? Why stage such a dramatic murder in the middle of the ocean?
To escape. The net was closing in. The authorities in Argentina were finally onto him. If Hugo Mayer dies at sea, and the death is witnessed by credible people like a ship's captain and a famous Hollywood producer, the file's closed. The hunt stops. He just slips away into a new identity. He becomes a ghost.
So the burial at sea,
Yeah.
the whole ceremony they have on deck later.
Was an exfiltration, a getaway.
Yeah.
They sew him into a heavy canvas sack weighted at the feet. They slide him overboard. But notice the book mentions the ship slows down to almost a dead start for the ceremony.
Oh.
He has scuba gear inside that sack, or if there is a rendezvous boat, a submarine, even waiting in the dark a mile away, he just cuts himself out of the canvas and he's free. Vanished.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, but it leaves a massive, glaring loose end. Krasicki, the man who pulled the trigger. If the shooting was staged, Krasicki must be an actor, or just a pawn.
And in a game with stakes this high, we're talking Nazi war criminals, probably millions of dollars in stolen loot pawns are always expendable.
And sure enough, Krasicki is found hanged in the ship's brig, which they were using as a makeshift hospital room.
Lind says it's suicide. The official story is that he was overcome with remorse for killing a man, even his former tormentor.
But Goddard knows better. He was there when they found the body. Lind acted surprised, but Goddard actually touched the body. It was stiff. Rigor mortis had already set in.
Let's break that down because it's a key forensic point. What does that stiffness actually tell us?
Yeah, explain that.
Rigor mortis is the stiffening of the body's muscles caused by chemical changes after death. It doesn't happen instantly. In a hot tropical climate, it might start a bit faster, maybe within an hour or two, but for a body to be fully rigid, it takes several hours.
Oh.
So if Krasicki had just hanged himself moments before they found him, his body would still be limp. The fact that he was stiff proves he had been dead for a long, long time. Lind's surprise was just another performance.
So Lind killed him earlier and just left him there to be discovered at the convenient time.
He had to. Think about it from Lind's perspective. You can't fake a second burial at sea. It strains credibility to have two people go over the side in canvas stacks in 2 days. Krasicki had served his purpose. He provided the motive, the drama, the noise. Now he was a liability who knew the truth.
So Lind, the charming intellectual doctor, just strangled him and staged a hanging to tie up the loose ends.
This is the real turning point for Goddard. Up until now, it's been an intellectual puzzle, a script analysis. Now he realizes he's trapped in a floating steel box with a cold-blooded murderer.
And just to ratchet up the tension even more, the ship itself turns against them. We started seeing smoke pouring from the ventilator.
The cargo fire.
Which has to be one of the most terrifying things that can happen at sea.
It's an absolute nightmare scenario. They are carrying bales of raw cotton. And stored in the hold beneath the cotton are carboys of industrial alcohol.
Oh my God. That sounds like a bomb just waiting to go off.
It effectively is. Cotton fires are a sailor's worst fear. The fire can smolder deep inside the compressed bales for days, eating up oxygen and generating intense heat without ever showing an open flame. It's incredibly hard to locate and even harder to extinguish with water.
But narratively, the fire serves a huge purpose for Lind. It's the ultimate distraction.
It's the ultimate distraction. Who has time to question the inconsistencies of a convenient suicide when the deck plates are getting hot enough to fry an egg? The fire creates a state of perpetual emergency. It keeps the passengers and the rest of the crew completely focused on survival, not on the murder plot.
And right in the middle of all this chaos, Captain Steenholy Joe collapses at the dinner table. A heart attack.
Extremely convenient timing, wouldn't you say? Steen was weak. He was the moral compass, however flawed. He was getting suspicious. He was asking Goddard questions about the shooting. It was a loose thread.
And with him gone,
Lind takes command of the ship, officially.
Goddard immediately suspects poisoning.
Digitalis. It's a drug derived from the foxglove plant, commonly used in small doses to treat certain heart conditions. But in an overdose, it's a potent poison that causes heart failure, and the symptoms mimic a natural heart attack almost perfectly.
And Lind has a whole pharmacy in his cabin.
He could easily slip it into the captain's tea or water, and now he's done it. He is the captain, the doctor, and the judge on this ship. The board is almost cleared.
Almost. The stage is cleared. The killer, Krasicki, is dead. The victim, Mayer, has escaped. The captain is incapacitated, except for one person, Madeline Lennox.
Oh, Madeline. She makes a fatal, fatal mistake. She confides in Goddard, and tragically we find out she had also mentioned it to Captain Steen earlier that she saw something during the shooting.
She saw Mayer bite down on something just before he fell. A capsule.
She saw the mechanics of the illusion. She didn't understand what she was seeing. She thought maybe he was taking a cyanide pill or something, but she saw the artifice. To Lind, that makes her an eyewitness to the fraud. She has to go.
This leads us to the accident in the shower. This scene is terrifying because of how domestic and mundane it is. Goddard is in his cabin, and he just hears her shower running and running for 45 minutes.
In a world like a freighter, where fresh water is a precious ration commodity, that's a huge alarm bell. Nobody takes a 45-minute shower.
So he gets Karen Brooke, and they break into the cabin. They find Madeline unconscious on the floor of the shower, bleeding from a nasty gash on her head. She's nude. There's a bar of soap on the tile. It looks like a classic slip and fall.
A tragic accident.
But Goddard sees the flaws in the set, dressing immediately. This is his Columbo moment. He sees what the killer missed.
It's the details. He looks at the shower cap. It's bone dry and hanging neatly on the hook.
And he knows, because, let's be blunt, he's been sleeping with her and knows her habits, that a woman like Madeline Lennox, who spends hours on her hair, never wets her hair before breakfast.
Not a chance. It would take hours to dry and set in that humidity. Madeline's entire identity is built on her appearance, her glamour. She would never, ever ruin her hair for the day. It's a character inconsistency that the killer, probably the brutish steward Rafferty, completely missed.
And there's another thing. The coffee cup in her room is empty.
Implying she was drugged first. The scenario is just brutal. Rafferty, the thuggish cabin steward, who is clearly Lynn's muscle, slips a sedative in her morning coffee. She passes out. He carries her to the shower, smashes her head against the tap to simulate the fall, turns on the water, plants the soap. It's just so cold-blooded.
Lynn comes in, does his doctor routine, and diagnoses it as a simple concussion. But Goddard knows it's attempted murder. They fully intend to let her die of complications, or just give her an overdose of morphine later while she's unconscious.
And this is the moment that finally breaks Goddard. He realizes he can't just watch anymore. He can't just be the critic. He's next on the list. He warns Karen Brooke, who is the only other innocent person left, and he prepares for war.
He drops the mask. The civilized producer is gone for good. The man who fought the black animal on the raft is back, and he creates a weapon. The cestus.
I love this detail so much. A cestus is an ancient Roman boxing glove, usually leather straps loaded with lead or iron. But Goddard improvises. He takes a simple handkerchief and winds it tightly, layer by layer, around his hand and knuckles.
How does a simple handkerchief become a weapon? That sounds so soft.
It's all about compression and density. When you wind it that tightly, it compresses the small bones of your hand into a single, solid block. It turns your fist into a club. It protects your own hand from breaking when you hit something hard, like a skull, and it adds mass and density to the impact. It's a prison weapon, simple and brutal.
Rafferty, the steward, comes back to Madeline's cabin. He says he's there to clean the bathroom.
But he's really there to destroy the evidence, to get rid of the dry shower cap and the coffee cup before anyone else notices.
And Goddard lures him in.
The fight that follows is not a Hollywood fight. There's no fancy choreography. It's ugly, it's clumsy, it's close quarters. They are smashing into the steel bulkheads. It's desperate and real. Goddard uses his size and his pure rage. He's not fighting for a script now. He's fighting for his life.
He beats Rafferty, he smashes him down, and then he checks Rafferty's pockets. And he finds it.
The gun.
The game changer.
It shatters the entire illusion. Up until this point, Lind and his crew have maintained this thin facade of normal shipboard life. Oh, what a tragic suicide. Oh, what a terrible heart attack. Oh, such a clumsy fall. By carrying a gun, Rafferty proves this is an armed operation. It proves they are soldiers in a conspiracy.
And Goddard interrogates him, and he's not gentle about it. He demands to know what drug was given to Madeline so he can try to treat her. Rafferty is defiant. He just tells him, up yours. But it doesn't matter. Goddard has the gun now. He has the physical upper hand. And that is where our source material leaves us on that incredible cliffhanger.
It's a massive cliffhanger. I mean, just think about the situation. The ship is on fire. The captain is comatose, possibly dying. The chief mate is a brilliant sociopathic killer running a Nazi escape operation, and Harry Goddard, the castaway, is effectively mutinying against the command structure to save the remaining passengers.
It's an incredible setup. I want to step back and just look at the themes here for a minute, because this isn't just a simple action story. It's really about identity and masking, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Every single person on that ship is wearing a mask. Egerton was playing the role of the prim British colonel to hide the Nazi butcher, Hugo Mayer.
And Lind?
Lynn plays the role of the healer, the intellectual, the Renaissance man to hide the cold-blooded organizer and murderer. Even Goddard.
How so? How is Goddard wearing a mask?
Goddard plays the role of the passive observer, the cynic, the man who calls his own death a low-budget routine. But underneath all that, he's a man of action. He's the survivor who swam through shark-infested waters. He has to drop his own mask of civilized detachment in order to survive.
And the irony, and I think this is the coolest part of the whole book, is that he uses his knowledge of fiction to decode reality.
That's the core brilliance of what Charles Williams did here. You know, we always say truth is stranger than fiction, but here, fiction is the tool used to find the truth. Because the crime itself was staged. It was a performance. It took a producer to recognize the bad blocking, the fake props, the misdirection. A normal detective might have looked for fingerprints. Goddard looked for poor production values.
That is such a cool insight. It takes a liar to catch a liar.
Precisely. Or only an illusionist can spot the wires on the magic trick. Lynn's arrogance was assuming that everyone else on board would accept the surface reality. The suspension of disbelief, to use a theater term. He just didn't count on having a professional critic in the audience.
So we have this closed system, a ship at sea. The law is the captain, or in this case, the man who controls the captain, Lind. There is no police force to call. There is no judge. There's no appeal.
And this raises the final really provocative question for us, I think. In a situation like that, does truth as an objective concept actually exist? Or is truth simply whatever the strongest person on board says it is?
Lind tried to write the script. He decided that Egerton died of a revenge killing and Krasicki committed suicide. That became the official truth, written down in the ship's log. It's reality, as far as the record is concerned.
Until Goddard picked up the gun. Now, Goddard has the power to edit the script. He has the power to write a new truth. But to do it, he has to become violent. He has to step outside the law to enforce justice. It really complicates the hero archetype. He's not a cop. He's a vigilante.
It really leaves you wondering, if you were a passenger on that ship watching all this unfold, who would you trust? The calm, intellectual doctor who quotes Nietzsche and saves lives with his medical kit? Or the desperate, angry Hollywood producer with a handkerchief wrapped around his fist and a stolen gun in his hand?
It's a terrifying choice, and it's a powerful reminder that civilization is a very, very thin veneer, especially when you're floating all alone on the deep blue sea.
Well, I am definitely going to be double-checking the locks on my doors tonight. This has been an intense dive into Charles Williams's In the Deep Blue Sea, a survival story that morphs into a full-blown psychological war.
A true masterclass in tension.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next deep dive. Stay safe out there and, watch out for those low-budget routines.